Liverpool 2, Manchester United 2. A fantastic performance by Manchester United at Anfield last night for the first time in a number of years. Is this the turning point that Manchester United need to revitalise their season? We've got 5 talking points on the game last night, guys. Let's jump straight into it. As always, guys, thanks for tuning in. Please do hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. As you can see in the top left, we are very close to 13,000 subscribers. Do hit that like button as well for us. It helps the channel out an awful lot. But we're going to jump straight into it, guys. Number 1, hunger and desire. It was an absolutely amazing performance last night by United, it has to be said. And it's a performance that not a lot of people were predicting, and me included, and I think rightly so. On the basis of the last few weeks, there was no indication that United were going to go out and put in the type of performance that they did at Anfield last night. And I think it was absolutely deserved a draw at the bare minimum. I think United probably should have gone on and won the game and could have won the game at a number of different points last night. But I think there was a number of different reasons why we went out and put in such a good performance last night. And the first one was obviously the changes to personnel on the pitch. And as we can see on screen here, this is the starting 11 that Ruben Amorim went with last night. And look, we know the main changes came within the midfield, and that was the big talking point. Obviously, the game against Newcastle, we seen Ugarte and Bruno Fernandes were both out suspended, and it meant that Christian Eriksen and Casemiro came into the team. No legs. Well, by God, we had legs in the team last night, didn't we? Manuel Ugarte came straight back in, and Bruno Fernandes also came straight back in. Kobbie Mainoo playing in the 6 and Ahmed in the 10 alongside Bruno. And it was a spirited performance by Manchester United. And you can see when you've got legs in the team and you've got players that are willing to run and willing to work hard, I think it makes such a big difference. And Manchester United had it in abundance last night. From number 1 to number 11 and the substitutes that came on as well, I thought it was an absolutely brilliant performance. When you've got legs in your team and players that can cover ground with different energy levels than what we've seen against Newcastle, it makes an absolutely huge difference. It really, really does. And I think going into the upcoming fixtures, there's an awful lot of emphasis now on training by Ruben Amorim, and we've seen, obviously over the busy period, there's not much you can do on the training pitch. It's play a game, rest, prep the next game, play, rest, prep the next game. Now, and in the lead up to this Liverpool game, Ruben Amorim had 6 or 7 days on the training pitch with these players, and it made a huge difference last night in this game. It really, really did, in terms of how, we implemented our game plan, in terms of how the players, I suppose, bought into it and knew what they were doing and looked more comfortable and so on and so forth. So it was night and day compared to last week. And yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm really happy. Again, I mentioned it last night. The fact that we're disappointed coming away with a draw just goes to show how good the performance was. And I think that is, down to the players and how well they played last night. It was absolutely fantastic. But we need to do it more consistently. Number 2, Maguire masterclass. I thought he was absolutely fantastic last night, I have to say. I really do. We know what has gone on in Maguire's career at Manchester United. It hasn't all been, sunshine and roses for him. It's been quite difficult, and he's come under a lot of criticism. He's lost the captaincy, so on and so forth. He was criticised about not leaving the club when United were looking to offload him. And the one thing I would consistently say about Harry Maguire is that he's been one of the best professionals we've had at Manchester United, maybe post Sir Alex Ferguson. He's never dropped his standards in terms of wanting to improve, in terms of, representing Manchester United as best he can. He's always put his head down, he's always worked hard, and he's always tried, to do his best for the team. And now that we've seen Ruben Amorim come in with a new set of tactics and 3 at the back, and we know how well Maguire, has played for his national team with 3 at the back for a number of years now, I think it just goes to show, that maybe the quality is there, and I've always said about Maguire, I have no problem with him being at Manchester United, but I always maintained that he should be a squad player and he shouldn't be, we shouldn't be overly reliant on him. And I think that should still be the case, to be quite honest with you. We've seen Lenny Yoro come on last night and do really well, and I think in the long term, Lenny Yoro will be the player that maybe comes into that back three instead of Maguire. But we've seen this week that Maguire's contract, a 1-year extension, is going to be triggered by United. So he's at the club for another 18 months. Are they triggering it to potentially move him on in the summer and get a fee for him? I'm not too sure. He's always been consistent in saying he's going to stay at Manchester United. So if we've triggered his contract, his 1-year extension, I think United are under the impression that, well, he's just going to see it out because he's done that so far when we've tried to move him on. But I'm really happy for Maguire, I have to say. I think he deserves it. Now, look, an awful lot of the talk around Maguire, I've seen it already this morning, is in relation to that miss at the very end, and I do feel sorry for him. The ball by Joshua Zirkzee wasn't the best, it was bobbling to him. However, you've got to hit the target, and Roy Keane was saying it on Sky Sports last night. You've got to hit the target, and what a way to end the game. It would have been the last kick of the game, and United would have nicked the win right at the dead, and it would have been deserved, to be honest with you. But I think Maguire was absolutely fantastic last night. Outside of that, really annoyed me when we seen this given as a free, a brilliantly timed tackle on Mohamed Salah. And this is more about the game and the way it's going at the moment, and you're not allowed to put in challenges anymore, and referees are too trigger happy. And I'm not going to get into Michael Oliver because you all know my thoughts on him, but yeah, I mean, from a Maguire standpoint last night, I thought it was absolutely a fantastic performance, and he wasn't the only one. But yeah, big up to Harry Maguire. Number 3, midfield masterclass. Going into this game, there was a big concern about the midfield, and obviously we spoke last week about, and even in the build-up to this game, about the 2 number 6s, and, the fact that it was Eriksen and Casemiro last week. However, there was big changes, and we're going to start in relation to the midfield with none other than this guy. What a performance, and what a player, what a signing. Mamadou Ugarte, just absolutely relentless in his hunger, in his desire, in his willingness to go and win the ball and get on the ball then when we're in possession. I've been so impressed by him since Ruben Amorim has come in. And again, in the aftermath of the Erik ten Hag era, a number of points have come up that have made us question, certain things. The big one is Ahmad. Why didn't he play him more? But the other one is 100% Manuel Ugarte. Erik ten Hag said an awful lot that he's not ready. We need to slowly implement him into the team and so on and so forth. And, when Ruud van Nistelrooy came in, he just played him. Enough of this. Get him into that team. He's good enough. And Ruben Amorim done the same. And we know, obviously, the relationship between Ruben Amorim and Manuel Ugarte. Obviously, Ruben Amorim had him at Sporting Lisbon. He's been absolutely phenomenal over the last few games, and to see the defensive side of his game against Liverpool last night, was absolutely fantastic. Going up against what has to be said, one of the best, probably the best midfield in the Premier League at the moment, with the likes of Gravenberch there, McAllister, I think Curtis Jones played last night as well, and Manuel Ugarte just settled in and said, right, this is my game and I'm in charge here, and stamped his authority, and he's been doing it for a number of games now. I've been so impressed with him. I have to give big comeuppance as well to Bruno Fernandes, guys. He gets an awful lot of criticism, and going into the Newcastle game last week, there was a lot of the fan base, look, I don't take notice of an awful lot of it as well, but a lot of the fan base were saying we'll play better without Bruno. They were happy that Bruno was suspended and so on and so forth. And Bruno's had a difficult season, it has to be said. However, there's 4 or 5 in the last 4 occasions that Bruno Fernandes didn't play, United failed to win each game. He is pivotal to how we play. And last night, he put in a man of the match performance. He was absolutely fantastic. The little reverse pass assist for Lisandro Martinez for the first goal was absolutely phenomenal. Just to have the awareness, to know that Lisandro Martinez is on your left-hand side, and he was nearly behind him. To be able to pick out a pass like that, it was absolutely phenomenal. He was everywhere. But I also thought that he was very structured in how he played his game last night. We've spoke about Bruno Fernandes in the past being, likes to wander and might find himself at left back and right wing and left wing, but I thought he played his position really well last night. He worked up and down that inside channel. He helped Delo out an awful lot with Salah. He got involved in the forward areas. Then when you get into these forward areas, I don't mind him ending up over here or over here. I've no issue with that. My issue is when we see him back here, or we see him here, stay structured, and I thought he'd done that really, really well last night. I really did. I thought he was absolutely fantastic, and he's going to have to put in a lot more consistent performances, like a lot of the Man United players are. And he mentioned it in his interview last night after the game, and you could see he was disappointed that this performance has come in Liverpool, but why hasn't it been happening more throughout the season? And he was dead right about it. But I have to say, he was absolutely phenomenal last night. And I do have to give a final shout out to, well, not a final shout out in midfield, because I thought, I thought this guy was absolutely, pivotal again last night. I thought he had a quiet enough game, but he was in the right area at the right moment and scored the goal when we needed it. And that's what you want out of your forward players. I thought outside of that, he had a quiet enough game, and Liverpool on that left-hand side did a decent enough number on him, it has to be said. But we do have to give some credit to Kobbie Mainoo as well. I thought he was fantastic last night. Ruben Amorim is clearly monitoring his minutes. He didn't last 90 minutes last night, but I thought it was absolutely by far his best performance, probably of the season, but certainly under Ruben Amorim. He showed last night that he can quite easily get back to the best of himself that we've seen last season. He was absolutely phenomenal. So midfield, guys, last night was brilliant, and it just goes to show when you get legs in there and you get a performance, a combined performance by the midfield, it just goes to show how better the team looks, it has to be said. Number 4, Højlund concern. Look, I mean, Højlund was probably one of the only players last night that actually struggled, it has to be said. I thought he struggled last night. Again, I mentioned it in the first half during the watch-along that some of the balls that were going into him were actually really difficult to control. There was balls being, zipped into him by Delo in the left wing back position, and Mazraoui done it a couple of times, and Bruno Fernandes were getting balled into him. But his hold-up play needs to improve. His first touch looked really off last night. While we know he's well able to hold up the ball and he's able to hold off defenders, he's got Van Dijk marking him for the majority of the game, and Kanate as well, two very, very good centre-backs. And he's able to match them for, strength. However, he's got to hold the ball up better and he's got to protect it an awful lot more. And look, I mean, we know that the kid is only 21 years of age and he shouldn't have to be, so heavily relied on. He's 21. He should be able to be maybe the second fiddle for a couple of years and learn his trade and play 30 to 35 games a season rather than 55 games in the season. But, there is an awful lot of talk about him missing chances, and obviously the main one last night was when he did go in one-on-one on Alisson in the first half, and he never really tested him. He hit the ball straight down the centre at Alisson, and it ended up being a comfortable save. However, I do believe that service to strikers and the more chances you can create for them, the more comfortable they will get in these one-on-one situations and the more goals they will score. And we have said consistently that Rasmus Højlund hasn't got an awful lot of service. I think he's third last for chance creation out of any striker in the Premier League this season. So the chances are not being created for him. He's not being put into the right areas. And I think if he is being put into them right areas more, he obviously scores more goals. Then confidence builds. Then when he goes in one-on-one against Alisson last night, if he's after scoring 5 or 6 goals in the last 10 games like that, he puts the ball away. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's all Rasmus Højlund's fault. However, it is quite clear that Manchester United do need to go out and invest in a proven goal scorer. And we've heard the links already in the January transfer window about Victor Osimhen potentially coming to United. Gyökeres coming to Manchester United. if we sign, for example, Victor Osimhen and give him a 4-year deal, and let's say we get 3 years out of him and then move him on, Rasmus Højlund is still only going to be 24 years of age, and he's going to be playing 30 to 35 games a season over the next 3 years. He is primed at 24 years of age to take over then from whatever experienced striker you get in now. I think it's a really, really good game plan. Now, what you've got to understand then as well is that the mentality of Rasmus Højlund has to be correct for something like this. Is he going to say, okay, I'm willing to play 30-35 games a season for the next couple of years if it means I am the number one striker in 3 or 4 years time, and that's down to the mentality of the player. And everything I've seen from Rasmus Højlund over the past couple of years would suggest that he would be willing to do that. He's a Manchester United fan, he loves playing for the club. I think we could potentially do that. I think it is important we get in the number 9 and that we future plan that position, because we need to score more goals. When you're looking at your goals last night, obviously Ahmad, scoring from the number 10 position is absolutely fantastic. But then you're looking at Lisandro Martinez getting the other goal, and there has been a lack of goals in the forward line this season, so it is a concern. But I do think, absolutely, I'm not being overly critical of Rasmus Højlund. He's a young kid learning the game. He's going to need time. And number 5, consistency is key. Look, we know, and I mentioned it again last night, that Manchester United players, it's easy to get motivated and to get, excited about a game against Liverpool at Anfield. It really, really is. The real, I suppose, professionalism will come with, okay, can you put in that type of performance consistently? For example, in 2 weeks' time when we play Southampton, when we play Brighton, when we play West Ham, when we play, Leicester City away, whatever the case may be. They're the games where you've got to pick up 3 points week in, week out. And if you can do that, then, and you go to Anfield or you go to the Etihad or the Emirates or wherever the case may be, and you don't win every game, you're backing it up, with 9, 12, 15 points before you go into games like that. So I think consistency is going to be key. And Ruben Amorim and Bruno Fernandes, like we said, mentioned it in the press conferences last night, that, where was this performance for the last 3 or 4 games? And that's the concern, and that's the real... it's the real frustration from United fans and from Ruben Amorim and from, the players as well. We've got to get more consistent in our performances. And I think if we can do that, we will absolutely move up that table quite quickly. And that's down to the players. That is down to the players. Ruben Amorim is not changing his tactics, and we've seen in spells this season that they are well able to play this formation. The formation is not the issue here. It's the mentality of the players, where you go out onto the pitch week in, week out and consistently perform. And if you don't do that, you will not last under this manager, and it's the way it should be. We've seen Marcus Rashford come under criticism, and it looks like he'll be moved on. There's been talk around, maybe not mentality-wise, but players that are not maybe able to do it consistently now because of age. Christian Eriksen, for example. Casemiro, for example. These types of players. Luke Shaw can't stay fit. Time to move on. So on and so forth. Players that are maybe just not good enough. Victor Lindelof. These types of players. Anthony, for example. You do it consistently week in, week out now. These players have shown us against City, against Liverpool now, that they can play this system, and they can play it really, really well. It's up to them now, mentality-wise, to actually go out and put in that hard work week in, week out, and score goals and win games. That's what it's all about. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys, on all of the talking points we've discussed here. I'm really, really happy with last night's performance, but like I said, it's gotta continue now like that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do hit that subscribe button. Like I said, as you can see in the top left of the screen, nearly at 13,000 subscribers. We're going to try and get to 15,000 by the end of January, for example. So if you can subscribe, please do. Hit the like button as well for me on the way out. I do appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.